Whoops. Hold on.
What?
Rename.
Looks like they dominated me. And we're not chazering, right? Because it's too late.
Where are we holding right now?
We are. We
Was
did.
a complaint that much Shabbos not the chazer?
No, I don't know. It's just okay. Well, chazer. Okay, let's chazer.
The Mishna wrote it, right?
No, it's the Mishna.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're right. Yes.
Not the Vazas. Or just the tradition. You want more of those? Those are shit up.
What?
I actually have some notes typed up on halachas of Passover B'Kisnin and what to do about food like desserts during the meal. Maybe I'll send them out when we have a little bit more time. We can go over it together just so the other can get some practical halacha out of all this. Maybe.
If you eat a drop of matzah with pizza, that's good. If you bench and everything, eat a slice of pizza, 2 slices, you bench.
Yeah. Okay, to chazer quickly, daf mem beis.
Sorry.
We started with when mezainis turns into hamaitzi, meaning when you're eating mezainis bread. If you eat a lot of it, then you have to make hamaitzi. When the meal is considered, then 2 was when the meal is considered over, and any new food would require a bracha. 3 things that are immediate, right? There are 3 different things that we say that happen immediately, which one of them is right after eating the meal, right after you wash your hands, you bench, right? And gulul tefillah, that was that. Then the Mishna says, bracha on wine before a meal covers the wine during and after the meal, right? Is that what? No.
That's today's.
That's today.
Yeah, that's today. I went ahead.
I mixed up my notes.
Yeah,
I mixed up my notes. Wine during a meal each. No, that's
that's
I mixed up my
base.
notes. Yeah, you know what? I think I mixed it up in here, but on my phone it's fine. Let me get it. Let me pull it up on my phone. That's
They don't stink.
No, I don't know what's with my notes here. Was I chazering daf? Oh, because I was chazering mem beis. So I have to back up. Mem aleph. Order of brachos when they're the same brachos are different brachos, right?
Right.
That's when you have to make which comes first, mezainis or hadam or shakal. The order of making brachos on the 7 minim, meaning it says it in the order of the pasuk, and we learn measurements out from the pasuk, right? From wheat, we learn out kazayis kedei chilas pras, and etc. etc. Then on the beis, we calculate the order of the 7 brachos based on the 2 times it says eretz in the pasuk, right? Some are before, some are right after eretz, and then there's 2 that are right after the second eretz, zeis, shem, and dvash, right? Food in middle of a meal needs a bracha, and then wine covers all drinks. And then we did mem beis, so we discussed that already. Okay, now we're ready. I'm sorry for all that confusion. Okay. Zog the Mishnah. Yeah, mem beis amud aleph on the bottom. Yeah, if you make a bracha before the meal, mazon here doesn't mean birchas hamazon. Mazon here means food when you eat, right? So if you make a bracha on wine before the meal, then a pat is the yain that starts after the meal, right? Meaning you're standing around, you're having hors d'oeuvres or whatever it is. That's what we're going to discuss here. So the question is, do you have to make a bracha before? Or do you have to make it during the meal? So wine you certainly don't, which is what we do every Friday night. If you have more wine during the meal, then you don't have to make a bracha on that. If you make a bracha on parperes, which is some sort of, any sort of snacks or hors d'oeuvres, so it will pater the parperes that's after the mazon. Right? But if you make a bracha on bread and you make obviously anything that comes part of the meal, you don't have to make a bracha on. But ala parperes lepater is a pas. But if before the meal you have some mezainis, and then after that you wash, so then you would have to make a bracha hamaitzi, obviously, because the bracha mezainis is not going to cover the bracha of hamaitzi, which we'll discuss in the Gemara a little bit. What? Paparis is possible because
Okay, fine. I was making sure.
I mean that's one form of it.
So why wouldn't why does the Mishnah say that? If you make a putter of a parish shalachar Muslim, you don't need the lachar Muslim. You don't need you already washed the bread. Why would you even worry about? Why would the bracha of Paris?
No, so that's an excellent question.
So it doesn't.
It's an excellent question because it's not so simple. See, the Mishnah Berurah discusses, and I really would have liked to be marich in this a little bit, but there's no time. But let's say you eat something before your meal, right? Which a lot of people do Shabbos morning. You make Kiddush, Chassidim do this. The Mishnah Berurah discusses it. So right after Kiddush, they'll have herring and this, and then they'll go wash. The question is, do you have to make an alamichya before you wash? Right? It's not so simple at all.
I did it today.
Right? So it goes, there's a lot of different variables with this. I plan on typing it up tonight, hopefully just what the practical halacha is about this, and then maybe sending it out. But yeah, it's not simple at all. Again, the Gemara here is only referring to the bracha rishayna. It's not referring to the bracha achrayna. Okay? Fine. So that's so far in the Mishnah. Besamim says not. It also will not. It does not include ma'aseh kedera, which is like some sort of porridge. Yeah. So that it also is not included in the bracha, which we're going to see in the Gemara. The Gemara doesn't understand exactly what Besamim is coming to do. Is he disagreeing with the first part of Mishnah? Is he disagreeing with the second part of Mishnah? We'll see that in the Gemara. If they were all just sitting together, then each person has to make their own bracha. Meaning, like if you're just sitting around, everybody makes their own bracha. But hiseba, but if they're all leaning together, so hiseba, when you lean together, that's a sign that it's a much more kaviyastik suda. It's more, it's going to be a more permanent suda where people are going to sit there for a while. So then one will make a bracha on behalf of everybody else. Let's say they got wine came to them in the middle of the meal. Yeah, which we'll see what that means. Then everybody has to make their own bracha. If they're done eating, then one person can make a bracha on behalf of everybody else, which the Gemara will explain on Mem Gimel Amud Aleph exactly why that is, and we learn an important halacha out of this. And that person who makes the bracha on the wine after the meal also makes the bracha on the besamim. Meaning, it seemed to be a minig that they smelled besamim after they ate, right? And you made bracha b'rei atzei besamim, as Rashi says, which the Gemara will discuss also. So that person who made the bracha on the wine also makes the bracha. Even though they don't bring the mugmar till after the meal, still the guy that makes the bracha on the wine on behalf of everybody after the meal will also not excuse me. He'll also make the bracha on the mugmar.
Is besamim?
Mugmar is besamim, yeah.
There's nothing to do with Abdullah. There's nothing to do with Abdullah.
No, nothing to do with Abdullah. No. This was anytime. Yeah.
It's interesting because obviously they're not tied together. There's splits it.
Okay, very good. That's what Taisa says. Taisa says this is even though Berachos Hamazon is in between, so there's a hefsek between the yain and the mugmar. So two different people can make the bracha. Still, the Gemara says the same person should make the bracha.
So what does that have to do with? What's the whole point?
What?
What's the whole point of having him be the mugmar guy?
He's the guy that's making the bracha, so he gets it. And it is the same thing with it's interesting. Yeah, there is. But the one who leads the slichas is the one that gets a right to daven for the Amud Shachris Mincha and Ma'ariv. So we'll see later on in the next parak. We're going to see if there is a chashivas to being the one making the bracha as opposed to answering amen. The Gemara actually has a machlokes which one's better.
I'm asking once you dive onto it, all of a sudden.
So it's out, yeah, like if you yeah. Oh, so talk to Gemara. Amar Rabba B'chanan Rabbi Yochanan Lo Shanu Ela B'Shabbos V'Yom Tovim. This is only on Shabbos Yom Tov Hayil V'Adam Kaveya Sudasei Al Yayin. Since a person is kaveya his suda with wine, but all during the weekday, one bracha of yayin doesn't cut it. Meaning, the Mishna says that if you make a bracha before the meal, it covers all the wine during the meal. We're saying that's only on Shabbos and Yom Tov when you know that you're going to sit down to a meal. But during the week, how do you know you're going to have more wine later? Right? It's not like a big suda. It's a quick in and out meal. So we're saying if that's the case, you have to make a bracha on each and every kais. Right? Because you never know if you're going to be having more kaises, which goes without saying, which we're going to say. is that if you do know you're going to have more cups, then of course you don't make a bracha on each and every cup. Itmanami Amar Rabba Bar Mori Amar Rav Shua Malevi Lashon Wal B'Shabbos Yom Tovim Shal Shadam Yotzim V'Samer Chutz B'Shasa because it's down. We're only talking about Shabbos and Yom Tov, and now he adds a few more. And when a person leaves the bathhouse, because when you leave the bathhouse, you want to have a drink, you want to have many drinks. But B'Shasa causes down when they do bloodletting, so therefore you get weak, so you want to strengthen yourself, so you know you're going to have more than one cup of wine. Since a person is kaveya his meal with wine.
This is obviously assuming that the person didn't actually dafka have in mind. If you dafka have in mind, of course he's going to be.
Yes, right. If you have in mind, then, correct. Rabbi Bar Mori iklu lebei Rabba b'chol. Rabbi Mori traveled to Rabba's house during the week. Techazi devarach fnei hamazon, v'hada barach la'achar hamazon. They saw him make a bracha before the meal, and then he went and made a bracha after the meal, meaning in the middle of the meal. Amar le yiyasha. He said, you are correct. And that's what Yishua Malevi said. Right? Because the reason why he did this is because it was during the week. So during the week, you don't know if you're going to be drinking more wine. Right? By the way, this is where Yiyasher is where Yiyasher Koyach comes from. It's not Yasher Koyach. It's not one word. And what I hate to get into this nitty-gritty stuff like we did last week with Shahakol and all that, but it's Yiyasher Koyach. When you're giving somebody a Yasher Koyach, that's what it is. Yiyasher Koyach. Yeah? Fine. Everybody's quiet out there in the world of the internet tonight. The real way is Yi Yasher Koyach. You should have strength because you did something correct. Yeah.
How do you talk if Parrots muted everybody?
Ah, okay. There we go. I don't mind talking to Naftali and Akiva over here. More doesn't hurt.
Especially Liner wasn't with you today.
What?
So especially because Liner wasn't with you today, you probably have withdrawal symptoms.
Of course.
Yeah.
The same number of Yeshua Malevi, and that's what Yeshua Malevi said. Fine, right. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef iklu lebei Abaya. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yosef traveled to Abaya's house on Yom Tif. Right? Chazi the Baruch HaKol Kosa V'Kosa. He saw that he made a bracha on every kos. Don't you hold what Rabbi Yeshua Malevi says that you only make one bracha? Because again, it was Yom Tif. The obvious question is, what do you mean Yeshua Malevi? It's the Mishna that says it. Right? The Mishna says you make a bracha on one kos. I've been changing my mind, meaning every time I drink a cup of wine, I say, okay, this is my last cup, and then I change my mind. So just like if you have in mind that you're going to be drinking more cups, you don't have to make a new bracha. Same thing goes the opposite. If you keep thinking, oh, this is my last cup, right, which is what I do every time I eat a meal, this is my last bite, and then I decide to change my mind and I'm going to eat a lot more, then you would have to maybe make an additional bracha. Yeah? See, so far we've been discussing if you made a bracha before the meal, do you have to make a bracha during the meal, right? This is the other end. You had yayin in middle of the meal, then what happens? Does it make it potter for the wine that's after the meal, right? So if you're going to say that the reason why if you make a bracha on wine before the meal makes you potter for the yayin after the meal, meaning in the middle of the meal, because they're both coming for thirst, right? You're drinking both before the meal and after and during the meal for drinking, for thirst. But during the meal, the reason why you're drinking is not for thirst, it's just to help the food go down, right? And then afterwards you're drinking for thirst. Maybe then it's two different reasons, so therefore you would need two different brachos. Or maybe it doesn't make a difference. So now we have a whole slew of opinions. Rav Amar Paiter, Rav Kahana Amar Eina Paiter, Rav Nachman Amar Paiter, Rav Sheshes Amar Eina Paiter. Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda, V'chol Tamid, the Rav Amri Eina Paiter. Rav Huna, Rav Yehuda, and Chol Tamid, the Rav say, you're not Paiter. Okay? So it's seemingly Rav held that you're not Paiter. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. Let's just finish the Gemara. Eisvei Rav Rav Nachman. Rav asked the question to Rav Nachman. Again, Rav Nachman is the one that says that you're Paiter from the wine. Right? And he asks a pashut the question from the Mishna. We said that if the wine comes, we are a little bit more than halfway down, whoever just texted. We're a little bit more than halfway down on beis, right before the first two dots. Yeah? If yain came to them in middle of the meal, each and every person makes a bracha themselves. But if the wine comes after the meal, one makes a bracha of all of them. So clearly you see that the bracha that you made of the wine in the middle of the meal does not cover the wine after the meal, because we're saying one person makes the bracha. If you don't need a bracha, then why do you even need one person to make the bracha, right? It's a pretty obvious question. So the Gemara totally changes what the Mishnah is saying. This is what the Mishnah says. If they didn't have wine in the middle of the meal, the wine delivery guy only came after the meal, then echem mevarich l'kulam. But granted, if they had wine in the middle of the meal, and then more wine came after the meal, then they would not have to make a new bracha. Okay? Yeah. So how do we pass it on this? That if you have wine in the middle of the meal, and then wine later, do you have to make a bracha? So Taisa says that the halach is like the Talmidim of Rav, right? Because Rav Sheshes went like him. And the halach is like Rav Nachman Medine or Rav Sheshes B'Yisurim. And we know the halach is like Rav Nachman by Dinim and Rav Sheshes B'Yisurim, right? But we saw, and Taisa says, but we know that the halach is like Rav by Isurim, right? So we say, the Taisa is very interesting. Taisa says, Shani Hacha, the Chol Talmid the Rav Pligila, right? Since all of Rav's Talmidim disagreed with him, so it must be that they heard it from Rav. So therefore, even though L'chayra, Rav would be saying one thing, but if all his Talmidim are saying another thing, then we're going to paskin like the Talmidim. You hear what I'm saying? So
all the Talmidim argue with the Rebbe?
It seems like it, yes. So it must be that the Rav, they heard it from their Rebbe, and something changed from what was written in the Gemara over B'Shem Rav. That's what it seems. That's what Tyson is saying. Okay. Anyways, this is not so negay l'maisa because we make one bracha and it covers everything. Yeah, fine. Baruch ala pas pater as a parperes, ala parperes le pater as a pas. Right. If you make a bracha on bread, then obviously it covers anything, any side dishes. But if you make a bracha on the side dishes, it doesn't cover the pas. And then beis shemai says it also doesn't cover Maisa Kedera. Maisa Kedera is sort of like oatmeal or porridge or something like that. And the question is, what is beis shemai doing here? Is he going on the first part of the Mishnah or the second part? They asked the Shaila. Beis shemai aresha pligi? Is beis shemai going on the first part of the Mishnah? Or dil masefa pligi? Or is he going on the second part of the Mishnah? The Kamer Tanakama Baruch ala pas pateros al paperes. Right, the Tanakama says you make a bracha on bread, then that patters you from the side dishes. The kol shekain Maisa Kedera. And of course, it's going to, any food that's actually cooked with, that has bread in it, it's going to be covered. That not only does parperes not get covered by bread, even Maisa Kedera doesn't get potter, meaning he's disagreeing with everything in the Mishnah, meaning at least in the first part, or maybe he's disagreeing with the Sefer. If you make a bracha on the side dishes, it will not make you potter from bread. Pasu delay potter. Avo Maisa Kedera potter. The Mishna, the Tanakama is saying it's not going to make you potter on pas, but the cooked food that has mezainis, that will be covered by the side dishes. And then comes the Lam beis shemai to say, "Vafilu Maisa Kedera nami le potter." Even Maisa Kedera is also not potter. So Teiku, the Gemara leaves it off by Tzarachian. Of what beis shemai was saying. Either way, we don't pass like beis shemai, so that's fine. Nothing really changed. Okay, fine. Next part of the Mishnah was Hayoshim kol echad v'echad. Each person was sitting by themselves, right? So what do we say? Each one's sitting by themselves. Then each one has to make their own bracha, right? But if they were leaning, then they make one person makes a bracha on behalf of everybody. Only if they're leaning together does one person make the bracha, but if they're not leaning together and all just sitting straight up, then each one has to make their own bracha. Or I'll ask you, 10 people that are traveling, even though they're all eating from one piece of bread, one loaf of bread, each one has to make their own bracha, meaning they're all sharing one loaf of bread. So you think, okay, we'll let one person make the bracha and have everybody else in mind. So saying, no, each one has to make a bracha themselves. Yashvu lechol, That's if they're traveling. But if they sit down to eat, then even if everybody has their own lunch, their own loaf of bread, everybody, one person makes a bracha on behalf of everybody. And it says Yashvu, Katana Yashvu, it says they were sitting, they weren't leaning, right? So it's just a straight out contradiction, right? The Mishna says it's if they're sitting, each one has to make their own bracha, and if they're leaning, not. And here the Gemara is very clear that if they were sitting, then even if everybody had their own food, still one person should do the bracha. We're talking about a situation where they all said, okay, let's sit down and eat together. So since they sat down and ate together, and they said we're sitting down and eating lunch together, so then that means that they're all eating together, even if they're not leaning, because that's their intention.
So let's say by yeshiva, you're sitting down together to eat. Everyone just assumes you could make a mezumin, but
there's not mezumin. This is not. This is even bracha rishon.
I hear, but would this also factor into mezumin?
Yeah, it would.
So I'm asking. Let's say it factors into mezumin. If you don't if you're not kaveya with your divor and whatever, why should you be able to be making mezumin if you're just randomly sitting together? Let's say you just sit down next to
and that's a big issue, but that's the next parak. The next parak is mezumin.
I'm just saying, based on the way the Gemara is saying it now, you actually have to go ahead and be kaveya with words that we are going to eat together.
Correct.
You can't just go ahead and assume. It's not a stump. That's what I'm saying.
No, that's true. Right. No, you have to. Right, you have to be something of a kvias together. We're going to get to that more in Amud Aleph. Yeah, but the Tosfos is an interesting Tosfos that has to do with Havdalah. Okay, so now we have a little story time. 4 lines up. Ki noch nafshi de Rav. When Rav passed away, Azlu Talmidov Basrei. His Talmidim obviously went after him, went for the funeral. Ki Hadri, when they were on their way back, Amar Nezel Nechal Lachman Har Danak. Let's go sit and eat some bread on the way back, by the river. Let's sit by the river and eat, right? That's like the Shayash Mini, where you're on the way back from a Levi, you go out to eat. Yeah. So they did, I guess this is a source for that. So Basar the Karchi, after they made sandwiches, Yasir Kamibayla, and they had a question. He said, this Mishna that says that one person makes a bracha on behalf of everybody, is that only for leaning? But if we're sitting, then when we don't have one person make the bracha, since we all said let's sit down and eat bread together in this specific place, then that's like leaning, right? Which is what the Gemara just finished saying. That would be considered like leaning, and one person should make the bracha on behalf of everybody. So, but they weren't sure. So lo yadayu. They didn't know. It wasn't in their hands to answer this. Come Rav Ada Barava. So Rav Ada Barava stood up. He took his shirt that he ripped, right? Because a Talmud is supposed to tear kriya when a Rebbe's nifter. So he turned around his shirt. The kare kriya achrin, and then he tore his shirt again on the other side of his shirt. Omar noch nafshei Rav, and he said, Rav passed away. And we don't even know how to learn Berachos Hamazon, meaning Rav passed away, and we didn't properly learn Berachos Hamazon, so we don't even know the halacha. So Adasa Hu Saba, until came along Ahu Saba, right? Rambalahu Masnisan Abraisa, and he asked the steerer from the Mishna to the Raisa, which is what the Gemara just asked before. And he answered them, since we said let's go and sit and eat the bread in this place, then it is like a seva. So Ahu Saba, which is usually El Yohanov, he came and told them what the pshat was. Yeah? Fine. So, but if they're all leaning together, then one person makes the bracha on behalf of everybody. But that's only by bread. Right? Rav is saying that's only by bread where you need the people to lean. But if everybody's sitting around drinking wine, then you don't need to lean, and one person can make the bracha on behalf of everybody. No, yayin also needs you to lean. Meaning, in order to make it a kvias that one person makes a bracha on behalf of everybody, then you also need them to be leaning. Okay, hang in there, because in a minute or two we're going to do some very practical halacha that people are unaware of. Amri, there are those that say, Amar Rav leishonu ela pasta mahani lehaseva. Only this is now is the opposite. Only pas haseva helps. But wine Even if everybody's leaning and drinking wine, it will not help. And Rabbi Yochanan says even wine will help. So again, according to the first part of the Gemara, according to the first way we learned the Gemara, it's a disagreement by yayin, but bread definitely needs a seva, right? And in the second part of the Gemara is by bread, you definitely need a seva, right? And there's only disagreement by wine, yeah? So Meisvei, the Gemara asks a kasha. Ketzat seder haseva. What is the order of his seva? Okay, this sounds like a very high class. This sounds like a dinner. To me, this sounds like a description of a fancy dinner. Yeah. What is the order of leaning? Archen nichnasin v'yoshin al gabi safsalin v'al gabi. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Archen nichnasin v'yoshin al gabi safsalin v'al gabi kiddedrais. First, the guests come in and they sit down on benches, and kiddedrais is also some form of chair. Hachi yikansu kulam. Right? Until everybody comes in, they bring them water, and each person washes one hand. Okay? And then they bring them wine. And each person makes their own bracha on the wine. Right? That's why they wash the one hand, because since they're going to make a bracha, they don't want the hand touching the wine and then making the wine tummy. So you wash that one hand. You hold the wine in your right hand when you make the bracha.
How do you touch wine? It's in a cup.
What? You might touch the cup. But this we're going to see in next week, or maybe a week and a half, about this. Yeah. All of us sebu. Then they go up and they all lean together. And then they bring water again. Even though everybody already washed one hand, if they go and wash both hands. And then they bring them wine. But even though everybody already made a bracha to themselves, here everyone makes a bracha on behalf of everybody. Okay, so now to both lashonos that we just learned, they're going to have a kasha from this Gemara. We said that according to Rav, according to the first version, that's only pas, but yayin doesn't need a seva, and you have a kasha from the Reisha, right? Because the Reisha says that they were not leaning; they were just sitting on benches, and they had to wash their hand. And they had to wash their right hand and then make a bracha, and each person had to make their own bracha.
But they weren't leaning.
Right. But Rav's, the first version of Rav says by one, you don't need leaning. One bracha, one person can make a bracha to have everybody. Says the kasha from the Reisha. So more answer, Shani Archen de Tatayilu Me'akar. No, that's different because by the guests, their das is to get out of there, right? Meaning because this was just for the shmor. You know, the guys that come into the dinner, coming in, getting out. So that's why they weren't staying. Right? Into the other lashon, but according to the second version, where he says only bread haseva helps, but wine haseva doesn't help at all. Kasha seifa, the seifa is a kasha because the seifa says that they all leaned and they made a bracha on wine. Shani hasam to miguta kamahani le'aseva lepas mahani le'aseva. No, beer by the dinner, since the leaning helped them that one person can make the bracha on everybody for bread, so then it helped. The leaning helped for wine too, but under normal circumstances, it will not help. Will not help for wine. Yeah. Okay. So now, what's the practical of this? The practical of this is that when one is going to be mitzi others, like in Havdalah and Kiddush, it has to be a kviyas. It has to be a kviyas. So those that are standing and the person making Kiddush is sitting are not yaitza with the Kiddush. At least lechatfila, right? Especially you also have people that are standing in a different room by a kiddush and they're listening. You're not part of the kriyas. You have to be part of the kriyas. Here the Gemara is not discussing standing and sitting, but it's l'chayr the same din, right? There we're talking about if you're all leaning together, so that's a kriyas. What's the difference between leaning and sitting? Sitting is too haphazard, so one can't make a bracha on behalf of everybody. Leaning is the same thing by kiddush, havdalah, and all that. Everybody has to be sitting together, which Taisus says, right? If you look at the end of the long Taisus, he says, "V'lachein noah." I'm just going to do it very quickly. V'lachein noah v'toiv l'mavdil, for the one making havdalah v'gam l'shoimim sheyeshu b'shas havdalah shaz yanir kekava u'paiterosam. Right? Taisus, the whole Taisus goes through with havdalah exactly what's going on, because if you're standing, sitting, there's no kviyas by Havdalah, right? All you're doing is drinking one cup of wine, right? So l'chayr, everybody should have to make their own. Yeah, so that's what Taisa says. By Havdalah, everybody should sit. So at least it looks like it's a kviyas, which is why many people sit for Havdalah. Right? This is the main reason also to sit for Kiddush, because you want everybody to be part of one kviyas. Okay, so why we stand, that's the whole different story.
Say whatever the person who's leading does, you should do.
Correct.
So,
No, but standing no, sitting, if the person making Kiddush is standing, then you could sit, because you're for sure part of the kviyas. For both. If the person's standing, if the person making Kiddush is standing, then the people sitting is okay. But if the person making the Kiddush or Abdullah is sitting and everybody else is standing, how they're not part of a kviyas?
But isn't this if you do it in a shul for a family, everyone in the room? It's a small house, just the 5-10 people.
No, so you have to be in the same room. You got to be in the same room.
Even a family?
Yes, 100%. Fine, right. So that's one practical thing from the stuff.
Yago.
Yeah.
Halacha l'maisa. Should Marchuk fold his pizza or eat it straight?
I was going to comment about it, but then I was going to say like he wants to show a pass up a kissing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. By the way, I've gotten more comments in this year about my pizza eating habits, and you can imagine. Everyone's been chiming in over here. Bottom line is that Tzvi Yaakov says everyone should have a hot malava malchus. I wanted to show them that I'm doing it.
There you go.
Did you wash?
There you go.
Did
you
wash? I washed. I got my candles going.
What's your excuse every day that you eat, Marchuk?
I'm sorry. Can you just turn your pillow over so it sees the cool side?
Very good. Very good. Okay. Touche. Okay.
Touche.
Yeah. Yeah. So if yayin comes in the middle of the meal, Shalu is ben zayim of Neima Amru Balam yayin b'seich hamazon kol echad echad mevarach la'atzmai la'achar hamazon echad mevarach l'kulam. Right now, this is also an interesting thing. So they asked, Ben Zayim, how come in the middle of the meal each person has to make their own bracha, but after the meal, one person makes the bracha? So you answered, since the beis abliyah, the house of swallowing, is not available. Meaning, everybody, if you're going to have one person make a bracha in the middle of the meal, everybody is so busy eating, they're not going to pay any attention to the person making the bracha. So therefore, everybody's got to make their own bracha, right? Which is why Taisus also that big Taisus says that's why you say savri. Savri is sort of like trying to get everybody to pay attention, right? That's Shan and Savri. Okay. Yeah, we change subjects here for a little bit. That's so the person makes a bracha on the spices, right? The person who made the bracha on the wine, and on behalf of everybody, also makes on the spices. When we say that he makes the bracha on the mugmar, it sounds like there's somebody else who's better than him that should have made the bracha, right? But he makes it anyways. Meaning, if there was nobody else that's considered chashuv to make the bracha on the spices, so what do you have to say? And he makes the bracha on the spices. Sounds like you're trying to exclude somebody. There's somebody who would be better than him. V'amai, and the Gemara answers V'amai, why? Since he's the one that's leading, that's going to be leading the Berachos Hamazon, so he's going to be the one that gets it first. Then he has kadima for everything. This is a proof to something that Rav said. The person who washes his hands first from the last people, he's mizom lebracha, which we're going to say in the next parak. What this means is, let's say you have like 10 people sitting by the table, by a meal. So basically, you start with mayim achronim, and then the person who is going to lead the benching, when you get down to 5 people left that haven't washed their hands, then you jump to the guy who's going to lead the benching, and he's the person that watches from the techila of the achronis, meaning the last 5 people to wash. He goes first. So that's what we're saying. So since he's leading the benching, he goes first for that, and then he also goes first for the besamim. Rav and Rav Chia, Habayasa made the Rebbe Suda. So Rav and Rav Chia were sitting in front of Rebbe for the Suda. Amali Rebbe l'Rav, kum masha yadich. Rebbe told Rav, get up and wash your hands. Chazid Marasa. So Rav got all nervous. He got scared. Meaning, why is Rebbe telling me to get up and wash my hands? Like maybe I ate too much or something like that. So Amali Rav Chia bar pachsi, right? He said to him, how do you touch bar pachsi again? It's a phrase used throughout the Gemara. Like small one or Yeah. Ayin v'birchos mezayna kamalach. All he was telling you to do is, since he's asking you to wash your hands first, he's saying that you're going to be the one leading the benching.
Because he's the first one that washes it.
Right. Well, you give the washing of the hands to the person who's going to lead the benching. Right. That's what he's saying. He wasn't saying that there was anything. Rav got nervous for no reason, as if he was doing something wrong. All he was, and Rav Chia told him, all he's doing is telling you to lead the benching.
Sons of nobles.
Yeah. Sons of nobles is the way they teach it? Okay. Sons of nobles. Fine. Okay. Now we go into a total different set of dinam. When do you make a bracha on something good that smells? When the smoke goes up. Right? Meaning when you're making incense, so when do you make the bracha on it? Only once there's a smoke coming out of it. But he didn't smell it yet. Meaning you're saying you make the bracha once the smoke goes up, you didn't smell it. According to you, you're saying the bracha, you didn't eat it yet. How can you say the bracha? Your das is you're going to instantly eat it, meaning right after you finish the bracha. So too, when you see the smoke go up from the incense, you make the bracha, and then you know you're immediately going to smell it. Fine. Now we get into Hilchas brachas of smells. Amar Rav Chia Breda Amar Rav Nachmani Amar Rav Chisda Amar Rav Amri Lo Amar Rav Chisda Amar Ziri Kalam Mugmaris Bevarchalim Bare Atzeb Samin. On any type of mugmar, right? Meaning we're taking wood and burning it and smelling it. So we're going to say Bare Atzeb Samin because it's wood. It's wood that we're smelling. Chutz mi musk. You ever heard of musk? There's a whole controversy. There's a whole controversy of musk. It's made out from animals' brains or something, or what it's made out of. Secretions from animals, except for musk, right? Because it comes from animals, right? Shemen chaya. I'm saying musk. Shemen chaya. It's a shemen chaya that we make on it. Bari mine b'samim. Meisveis, I'll ask you, Kasha, Ema Varchim Bari Atzib Samim, Ela Farsimon shall base Ala Farsimon. We only make the bracha of Atzib Samim on parsimons. Shall base Rebbe, Val Parsimon shall base Kesar, Val Hadas shall bechol Makim. And you only make it on the parsimon from Rebbe's house, a parsimon of the Caesar's house, and Hadasim shall bechol Makim, and Hadasim that are found anywhere. Where Hadasim is wood. So if you were to smell Hadasim, you would make Atzib Samim. Tiyufta, the one says, yes, it's a Kasha. Right? Fine. So this oil that comes from a farsimon, what bracha do you make on it? He who created oil from our land. Don't rely on Rabbi Yehuda. Don't bring a proof from him. Meaning he loves Eretz Yisrael so much, so that's why he said Shemen Artseinu. But what about everybody else? What do they say? You make a bracha on this, who creates sweet oils. I'm going to need some article here for exactly what this stuff is. Okay. Right? Hai kushrasa, which I think is a kosher, is some sort of perfume. Right? You make a bracha on bari atze sam. I will mishcha kvisha, like mishcha kvisha.
Right? So this costas, it says.
Okay, that's
Rashi. Kosh, he says.
Right. Yeah, that
Rashi
doesn't help.
Mentioned.
Okay, if they don't say the translation, then they don't.
It's one of the 11 spices.
Yeah, we're saying in
yes,
also
correct. Right. But it's not. But
I'll tell you which one.
I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I will mishcha kvisha loy. Mishcha kvisha.
Oil in which is the coast is immersed.
Yeah.
We do not recite this blessing.
That you don't make the bracha atzib sam. Rav Kana or afilu mishcha kvisha. Even on mishcha kvisha, you make the bracha atzib sam. On mishcha tchina loy. But mishcha tchina, where you grind up kashrasa, then you don't make a bracha. Nardoy amri afilu. Yeah.
We lost the video.
Oh, because my battery. Yeah,
Is
sorry.
Is that tchina?
No, it's not tchina. Tchina means ground up. Yeah, that's where the word tchina comes from. The tchina is ground up sesame, right? Sesame? Right, but this is ground up something else. I don't know.
Drug test.
Yeah. Now, do yamar afilu mishcha tchina, even mishcha tchina. Amar Avgila Amarav. Hi, smalak. Yeah.
Jasmine.
Jasmine, right? That Rashi says. Rashi says Yasmin. Yeah. Amarav, hi Smalak, Mavarchan Ilavi Bari Atzib Sam. Make the bracha Bari Atzib Sam. Amarav Hanana Amarav. Hani Chalfi Diyama, Mavarchan Ilayu Bari Atzib Sam. These Chalfi Diyama, some
Spike
also a
nor,
type.
Spike nor.
All right, another type. These are all different types of summon. Amarazu
Like
Mikra, what's a pasuk? Via Lasam Hagaga Batitanu Pishtei Eitz. This is talking about the what's it called? Pilagish Begiva, right? Then she brought him up to the roof and she hid them in Pishtei Eitz. Hi Narkum de Gunganisa. Mavarchin Elavi Bari Atzib Summon. Right? The Dabra Bari Isveip Summon. But if it's from the midbar, then you make Bari Isveip Summon because it's a grass. Amar of Sheshas Hani Sigli. A person who makes some sort of cream or whatever it is from an esrog or a chavusha, right? Chavusha is kundish balaz, right? Some sort of fruit. He says baruch shenasan reach taiba peres, right? That is the bracha that you make, right? So there's a bunch of different options here, which is we paskin like all this. So depending on which type of fruit, and if it's wood, if it's fruit, then you would make different brachas. Yeah. We paskin, push comes to shove, that bayre mine psamim works on all of this. So if you ever want to make a bracha on these things and you're not sure, just like shahakal works for everything, so too bayre mine psamim works for everything, which is why for Havdalah the minig became, the Mishna says, the minig became that for Havdalah, even if you may have things that are wood, like Hadassim, you just make Binei Psam so as not to make confusion for the Hamayinam. Since so it's very confusing which brachas to make on which types of Psamim. So therefore, for Havdalah, we make Binei Psamim. Taisus and Amud Aleph asks, like, just like Shahakal works for everything, can you make Shahakal Niyah B'dvaroi on the smells too?
Yeah.
Taisus, no, he doesn't know that he answers it.
Hadassim's the wood or the leaves?
Yeah. What?
You say the wood.
No, but I'm saying it's leaves. But the wood. I don't know. I think the wood smells too.
Fine.
It sounds.
That's true because the leaves are like. Let's say you're smelling the leaves. The leaves are the same idea as without the Gemara. When the Gemara says it's atzi of summon, it's also the leaves, or only the wood.
I don't know. How do you differentiate what smells, the wood or the sun? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Atzi sounds like wood.
That's true. Yes. Okay, now we have a new halacha that's coming up in around a month from now. Amar Rav Yehuda, 5 weeks. Hayman de nafik b'yomi Nissan. So somebody goes out during Nissan, v'chazi ilani dekam elav levei, and he sees trees that are sprouting. Aimer, he says the bracha baruch shaloi chisa b'elamei klum. It's that Hashem doesn't miss anything, and there's nothing missing in the world. Ubar by brias taivas v'lanes taivas, he makes good creations and good trees. Let's nice behen. To be kept beautified by them, b'nei adam. This nice man, b'nei adam, right? This is the bracha that you're supposed to make during the month of Nissan. Yeah, only once you see leaves that are sprouting. Yeah, Amar Rav Zuchi bar Tobi, Amar Rav, minayin shemavachan ala reach. How do you know that you make a bracha on reach? Shenemar, kol neshama ta'alka. Every neshama will praise Hashem. Ezu davar sheneshama ne'anes mimenu. What's something that the neshama benefits from? Ve'ena guf ne'ena mimenu, and the body doesn't get anything out of it. Haviyam zeh reach. Right, smelling something is something that the neshama gets out of. It doesn't. The body doesn't get any hana from it. Yeah. Do you make a bracha on cigarettes or marijuana? Right.
Tefillah Sederech.
Tefillah Sederech. Oh, Tefillah Sederech. In addition to Tefillah Sederech.
Marijuana makes you make a lot of other brachas afterwards.
Well, you have to make sure you make all your brachas before, because you may not be able to make brachas afterwards. Right? But no, really, do you make a bracha?
Also, you make brachas on mitzvos before.
What?
It became legal in Chicago.
You want to know me personally, what I do?
What, on marijuana or on cigarettes?
Yeah, both.
Maybe we should leave it for after the recording. You know, you got daughters almost in shidduchim, you know what I mean? It's going on YouTube.
Yeah, but it's also very appropriate because you get the munchies, and then you have the whole shiloh possible, the kisni, what bracha, you know.
There you go. You can mamish make a ganze sefer marijuana and halacha.
Can you be kivei suda while you're on marijuana?
Could you please be the first one to put out a sefer about this topic?
Who you wanted to? Maybe we should do it as a chabura. Everybody should have to write. You know, like those yeshivas that everybody writes.
Everybody's doing a lot of research.
Writes a different.
Absolutely, tzarech Ian.
There you go. But anyways, the Pais can say that you don't. The Pais can say that you don't, and I can't remember now why.
That's all you wanna.
I want to enjoy the crowd.
You don't make a bracha on it. Oh yeah, the reason why you don't make a bracha on it, which we're actually going to see later on in the Masechta, is because the reason the Pais can say that the reason why somebody smokes cigarettes is not because they like it per se, not because it does anything to the neshama, but it helps the digestive system. It's not to provide you benefit per se, it's to take away negatives. Like you can't concentrate, so you smoke a cigarette and I don't know how it clears your brain, but whatever it is.
So it's medicine.
It's sort of like.
What about the person that's not smoking
medicine?
What about a cigar? What about a cigar?
What about a pipe? What about the person not smoking it?
I don't know. What about the person not smoking?
So Yaakov went to medical school in the 1940s.
Yeah. Okay, whatever it is, but that's what they say. It's not something to benefit. Okay.
Yaakov, why don't you make a bracha on ground coffee?
Oh, ground coffee, also a good question. How come you don't make a bracha on ground coffee? What bracha would that be?
What do you mean you don't make a bracha on ground coffee?
That would be, it wouldn't be mine.
It
would be pre. It's from a fruit. It's from a fruit.
Correct.
Yeah, so why wouldn't you make a bracha on ground coffee? It sounds to me like you should. I don't think the Velt does it.
I was always told not to.
Or what?
What?
What, on the reach type?
Yes. Yeah, coffee is a fruit.
Well, I've asked the Shalom many times, and I think you even told me no.
Yeah, the Velt doesn't do it. The Velt doesn't do it, but it's not clear why they don't do it. But we don't do it. Maybe because it's processed. That's the only thing I was thinking. Maybe because it's processed.
Yeah, is it different than food that's ground up? Let's say a potato that's ground up. It's a shahab, right?
No. Yeah, but they're not making a bracha on it at all. I'm saying, but it smells good. Potato doesn't smell good unless it's in the challah.
That's where coffee beans come.
No, so that you make up.
No, it's a coffee fruit that beans are inside.
No, but it's a fruit that people like to smell. The aroma of coffee is a thing.
It's orchard.
Right? The Paiskim do discuss it, but they just I don't.
Wouldn't it be the same?
What?
You could be yaitza with the shahab.
Wouldn't it be the same as not making a bracha when you walk into a bakery on the smell?
See, that's a little different because that smell is not that's not a natural smell, right? That's all the ingredients all together making a smell. We're talking about things that actually smell. I don't know. Does a coffee plant smell like coffee?
I didn't smell it.
All right, we got to send somebody on a field trip. Parrots, you went to the place in the bananas.
It does not smell like coffee.
Does not smell like coffee?
I was in Grenada and they had coffee plants and a coffee fountain, and they did not smell like coffee at all.
Okay, so maybe that's why. So then what makes it?
It probably has to be roasted. It's roasting.
So then, okay, that makes sense. If it doesn't have a natural smell, so then why should you make a bracha on it?
Right.
That's what I think.
You could also, why can't you be yaitza with the shahakam?
I don't know. What?
Why can't you be yaitza with the shahakam?
You can theoretically.
Coffee
but if there's an Indian to make a bracha on it, then the Indian make a
Yeah.
bracha.
Coffee beans have a smell.
Once they come out of the fruit.
The beans have a smell.
Beans have a smell. Coffee
I
beans
don't
have a
know.
smell.
You don't drink coffee like me, you get out of millions of issues. Not millions, but tons and tons of different issues. Or non-issues, you don't drink coffee. Okay.
Should you make a bracha on the esrog before you take Daled Minim? In the same way?
On Yom Tif, you're really not supposed to smell the esrog because it's really muksa for the mitzvah, so you really shouldn't be smelling it. Maybe the hadassim, yes, and it could be also on Shabbos you do. It really depends, but but you shouldn't because it's muksa the mitzvah.
Does that make Shabbos Chol Hamoed the esrog muksa or not muksa?
Well, that's the question. If you could smell it, then it's not muksa, right? So that's
set it aside for that, though, no?
Yeah. Well, I love dafka. I don't remember exactly how it come out with it.
You wouldn't use it, so most people are muksa it already.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that. I don't know exactly what this Gemara means, but the Bachura Yisrael will give off a good smell like Levanim. Shenemar Yachu Yankosov Yikazais Haida v'reach like kilvanin. So that's a good thing, right? So if you look on the side of the Gemara, at least on my side of the Gemara, it says that Bachur Yisrael shaloi tamu tam chet, right? Since they don't have a tam of chet, so therefore they're going to give us the smell of. It's basically a smell of purity and there's something very attractive to that, which is why we want Bachrim to stay away from smartphones and etc. Fine. This is very interesting Gemara. At least I think it is an interesting Gemara. That everybody does what's nice for him at its time. That teaches you that every person, Hashem makes every person enjoy the job that he's doing. Right? Which means sort of like, you get somebody who has a job and you think like, how could anybody possibly do this job? That person has no issue with it, right? So everybody has.
I have an issue.
Right? It's like somebody think, how could I be an accountant in April, right? And then other guys, how could I be a fundraiser? And then other, how could I be a rabbi? And other ones like, how can you do this? How can you do that, right? But the person that's in it has no issue with it.
We're all miserable, Tiago. We're all miserable.
Right? Everybody's miserable. Accountants, yeah, okay.
The accountants are the first ones to be miserable.
Yeah, okay. Amar Papa, yeah. If you hang a kura, and for a davar acher means a pig. It's interesting. So sometimes the Gemara uses davar acher, sometimes the meaning because the Gemara doesn't want to use the word pig, and sometimes it does use it, right? So I don't know. How do they touch kura? The art scroll. That's Rashi, right? What is it? Something soft that grows on a
kura.
That grows on a date, whatever it is. The
kura davar acher, hang a palm shoot.
Palm shoot.
In front of
on the neck of a pig,
right? And then he goes and he rolls in the dirt with it, because that's what he does. The Ehud day of it, he himself does take care of the right. This also needs a little background, right? You're not supposed to go out by yourself at night, right? So these are the reason why the Gemara is saying random things, because these are all things of Rav Zutra Bar Tovia in the name of Rab. So he says a torch acts as 2 people. The Yoreach and the moon acts as 3 people, so therefore you don't have to be scared about going out at night. So Ibailu, what does it mean? Avuka kishnayim bahadi didei. Does a torch mean it's like 2 with the person? Right? Meaning it's only like 2? Or is the torch like 2 people besides him? So that makes 3. Tashma.
What do you need the moon then?
We're going to get to that. Tashma v'yorech b'shloisha. So what about? So we say what we have the case of the moon is like 3. If the moon is 3 together with him, so then it's good. But if you say the moon is 3 besides him, what do you need 4? To one person, the shadim will see him, will be seen, and they'll damage him. To 2 people, they get seen and they don't do damage. To 3, he's not nicker at all. But 4 is not helpful, so who cares if the moon is 3 plus him? So therefore we see that it has to be that the moon is 2 plus him, and the torch is 2 is 2, meaning including him, right? So meaning in both cases, it's including the guy. Fine. Amar Reb Shimon Chasida. V'amri la Amar Reb Yonasan Yochanan B'Shem Reb Shimon Ben Yochai. Noich lo adam sheyapal atzmo l'toich kivshan ha'esh. A very famous Gemara. It's better for a person to put himself into a fire, and don't embarrass somebody in public. We know this from Tamar. Right? We know that Tamar with Yehuda said she took the stuff that he gave her, the stick and the clothing, right? And she said, whoever these belong to is the one that slept with me. And she wasn't going to say who it was, and she would rather have died instead of embarrassing, right? He came forward himself, but had he decided not to, she would have taken the fall for him. They bring in front of him oil and hadassim.
Just on that note, Shmuel actually called me that stick that she gave to him was the one that Moshe used throughout the whole what's it called?
Is that so? Who says that?
Yeah.
Who says that?
Who said it? I forgot. You gotta ask him.
Interesting. Okay. So they bring in front of him Oil and hadasim. First you make a bracha on the shemen, and then you make a bracha on the hadasim. First you make a bracha on the hadas, and then you make a bracha on the oil. I am going to be machriya. How do you say machriya? Machriya is to, I am going to...
be the third person?
No, it's going to be in the middle of the road. Ani achriya, I'm going to...
Arbiter.
What?
Decider.
Compromise.
The halacha in
There's a
accordance
better
with the
word.
words
There's a
of the
better
decider.
word.
The arbiter.
An arbiter? Nah, there's got to be there's a better touch. I'm not going to chas v'shalom disagree with art scroll, but
Mediator.
compromise. I'm going to compromise.
He's not necessarily compromised.
He is. No, he's going to compromise. Shemen. Well, like shemen's zechinu l'reicha. But normally in Shulchan Aruch, whatever, when it discusses a hachra, it's usually a compromise of the two positions. Shemen zechinu l'reicha v'zechinu l'zichasei. Oil, we're zeicha to smell it and we're zeicha to shmir it. Hadas l'reicha zechinu. We were zeicha to smell it. L'zichasei l'zechinu, but we were not. There's no such thing as shmiring hadasim. The halacha is like the divrei machriya.
Let's say there's one of the cases where we pass like b'shamay.
Why are you saying no? Why?
Because he's saying that the shemen makes more sense to use first.
No, but the mice we're passing like beis hill.
We pass like Leo. We pass like b'shamay.
What do you mean?
B'shamay's only passing to use.
No, but he's being machriya, so he's not. He's saying l'tzad beis shamay, right? But we're still not passing like the Gemara. We don't pass like right. Rabbi Yochanan is saying Allah is like the machriya, but the ma'isa we don't pass like.
That's funny, right? Because it's beis hill.
Yes.
Well, why would he pass like beis shamay?
I guess he thinks beis shamay had a good reason. He has to. Right. Yeah. Rav Papa ikla lebei Rav Huna brei de Rav Ika. Aisel kamayo shemen v'hadas. They brought in front of him shemen v'hadas. Shakol Rav Papa baruch hadas bereisha v'hada baruch hashemen. Right? Amarle lo savar lamar Allah k'divrei machriya. Right? Does he not hold like the machriya? Amarle hachi amarava Allah k'beis hillel. Right? And it Allah is like don't. It's not over yet. V'lohi, and it's not true. L'shtamute nafshu d'avid. He was just trying to push him off. Meaning, it sounds like he would also agree be'etzim that Allah should be like Bisham. He says Allah is like Besil. Okay, fine. They brought in front of them wine and oil. What you do is you put the oil in your right hand and the wine in your left hand. First, you make a bracha on the oil, then you make a bracha on the yain, which is why you put the shemen in your right hand, because you always make a bracha on the thing that's in your right hand. You put the wine in your right hand, oil in your left hand, you make a bracha on the wine, then you make a bracha on the oil. And then you smear the oil on the head of the shamash. But if he's a Talmud Chacham, then you smear it on the wall. That's a genai for Talmud Chacham to go out to. It's a genai in the Talmud Chacham to go out smelling good, meaning like with perfume. Okay, now the Gemara is going to discuss that. There's six things that it's a negative for the Talmud Chacham to have. The shuk, he should not go out smelling good to the shuk. He shouldn't go out by himself at night, which is really everybody shouldn't. He shouldn't go out with shoes that are dirty. He shouldn't speak to a woman in the street. And he shouldn't hang out with the chabura of Amei Aretz. He shouldn't come late to the beis medrash. Yeah, that's not what I was talking about.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I got it.
And there are those that say that you should not he shouldn't take large steps either. And he shouldn't walk with a very straight, straight up. I think straight up. There's a better way to say that. There's a way. With his.
Like a guy with dick away, a haughty dick away.
Right. Yeah, with the head,
chest out,
head held high. No, is that what it is? Right. But now the Gemara is going to continue. He shouldn't go out when he is smelling good. Abba Amar Reb Yochanan b'makom shechashudim al mishkav zachar. That's in a place where they're going to be chayshirim for mishkav zachar. I don't know exactly what that means, but
Rashi says that
right?
they did it in order so that she sabu.
Where's Simon from South Bend?
Make people attracted to you. What?
Where's Simon from South Bend?
Why?
The mayor knew.
Oh, the mayor. Yeah, you go. That's why. I guess maybe that's why he's not on. Yeah. Amar Rav Sheshes.
People shouldn't wear like cologne.
That's he said Talmud Chacham.
Oh yeah.
Saying
Me and you can go ahead.
I don't know. So that's what we're going to see. We're going to see. The Gemara discusses. Amar Rav Sheshes. Lo yamar el bebigdoi. Gufa izayim ma'avrlei. You just only put it on his clothing. You spray the perfume on the clothing, but on the body, then the sweat is going to take it away. So then that's not such a problem. Amar Papa was Sarai kabigdodom, and putting it on his hair is like putting on his beged.
We're back to square one.
Well, depends where on body you put it. But it's deodorant. Sounds like deodorant might be an issue.
Yeah, but that's to remove it. So
that's the question. If it's to remove Zayah, then it's really fine. But there are those that say it's like the body. Fine. Also because of chashad. He cannot go out at night because of chashad of znus.
Sorry, it's not leishriach bezeh.
Yeah.
If you have zeh, the armpits are higher than this.
Right. Well, then it's okay.
Right.
Yeah. That's only if he doesn't have something to do that everybody knows, right? That he goes out to learn at night. If he knows, everybody knows that the rabbi is going out to learn at night, so then there's nobody's chaysh that he's going out to do znus. Yeah, it's amazing what, I mean, I don't know what kind of rabbis they had back then, but it seems like there was a big chashash that people had that the rabbis were much mishkav zachar and going out to znus, and it's a rough job, a rabbi, yeah? And he shouldn't go out with dirty shoes. It's a bad thing for a Talmud Chacham to go out with shoes that are dirty. It's not true what Rav Chia bar Abba Nafik. Rav Chia bar Abba went out like that. That's talking about where it was. It's I don't know. It's shoes. It's like how do you call it? What does it say? Like shoelaces on top of shoelaces. I think that's the way to say it. It's only by if it's on the leg, right? But if it's on the gilda, less lamba. Yeah, you have taichas for that? If it's on the heel, correct. It's on the heel, meaning it's got to be on the top. It's got to be in the part that's recognizable. But in the back of the foot, it's not. That's
what dirt is also.
Right. And on the
Arsenal says it's a patch.
Patch.
12, you wanted to know
it's a patch and then a patch on.
Fly is a patch. Fly is a patch.
Yeah.
Okay, so tlai is right. So tlai in hechsher in by kasher and kalim. Okay, a kli with a patch is a tlai.
When there's a patch on top of another patch.
Yeah.
Tlai got with tlai.
Right. But gilda less on both. So if we also but gilda it's no problem, meaning on the back of the foot. And in the front of the foot that's only in the way. On the base of less on
the sole. On the sole, right?
So yeah. I will base a less but on the when it's an own house, then he can wear whatever he wants. That's only in the summer. But if it's in the winter, rainy season, so then everybody expects his shoes to be dirty. Right? You shouldn't talk to a woman in the street. Even his own wife, he shouldn't be talking to in the street. And Rashi says, now we also have a bracha. Nobody knows exactly who his relatives are, so you see him walking with his family in the street. So therefore, he's not. Everybody's gonna be chayshed that he's messing around. Fine. It's my time because maybe the Amiratim are going to have an influence on him. And he shouldn't go late to the beis medrash because they're going to say that he's lazy. He shouldn't even take large steps. They tell us if you take a large steps, it takes 150th of the light of a person's eyes. What do you do to get it back? So you'll get it back when you do kiddush, right?
You mean what? Rabbi, I mean 1/500th.
I'm sorry, 1/5. What did I say? 1/150, 1/500. I'm sorry, thank you. 1/500. Yeah, but thank you for that. You shouldn't go with a straight up posture. Because you shouldn't, if you go walk like that with 4 amas, then it's as if you're pushing away the feet of the Shekhinah. The whole world is full of the Shekhinah. So therefore, by you pushing it, you're pushing it up, which I think we paskin on this stuff, that this goes on everybody, right? There was a Meister, Rabbi Kleinkalfen told me that he was running to catch a bus, and he was huffing and puffing. He finally got on the bus, and on that bus, his luck was Reb Leib Malin, one of the big Rosh Hashivas of the previous generation. And Reb Leib Malin said, well, what are you doing? And he says, I'm running to yeshiva. And Reb Leib Malin told him, a yeshiva bacher never runs, even if you're going to end up coming late. You don't run, you walk, and that's siyagasa, you don't do it. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Anyways,
Shabbos not supposed to.
it's a little long, but good tvach was a long block.
I learned in the yeshiva.
Successful week.
I learned in the yeshiva. There's a little bit more about the guys. They all wear cologne.
It's maybe they're not Talmidei Chachamim. Parents, you got to cut the recording.
I have the hack.